Hello and welcome to the Pinfall Rewind. Today we're going back 2 years to the Royal Rumble 2019. Joining me today for this look back on Royal Rumble 2019 is Barnsey and Jordan. Lads, it's only 2 years ago. What were you up to?
Well, like the 10-year-old me, my life was consumed by Tottenham, Pokemon, and wrestling.
Sounds about right, mate. Sounds about right. Cool. A couple of years ago. It seems like such a long time ago with what's been going on with the pandemic and stuff. Yeah, I was probably... cool. What was I doing? I can't even really remember. Nothing obviously significant.
You told us about your school day, and then you can't even remember 2 years ago.
It's a bit worrying, isn't it? Short-term memory, man.
So how old you been there? 29, 30?
I just turned 30 for this one, yeah.
Yeah.
Just had a wrestling themed party. If we're going to talk about that, dressed as who were we dressed as? Jordan, yeah, you were Jericho, weren't you?
Yeah.
Wills was Kane, and I was Stone Cold Steve Austin. Got some quite interesting outfits that night. Good time actually. Yeah, thinking back to it.
Yeah.
Not so insignificant.
Well, it was only 2 years ago, but we're going to look back and see what we thought of the matches and maybe even compare people from where they were in 2019 to where they are now, which is 2021. So let's do ladies first. Let's do the women's Royal Rumble match. It was the second ever Rumble match. This one was won by Becky Lynch. She wasn't even supposed to be in the match, actually. She replaced Lana, who was injured. And she came in, I guess, at number 28, last eliminating Charlotte Flair. What did you think of this one?
Yeah, I love this one. When you look back on it and you just hear that pop when Becky Lynch comes out, one, makes you miss the crowd, and two, it makes you really, really miss Becky Lynch. This, for me, when she was just at the highest, I think personally, of any women's wrestler that there's been in WWE, she had the hottest streak going. And yeah, obviously, when you look back on it and Finley's the one that's waving her to the ring, you're a little bit like, what the hell's he out there doing? But yeah, the pop that she gets when that music hits, when she's halfway down the entrance, and obviously going in pretty much in the fashion that Stone Cold would do. She was like in the ring kicking ass and making sure that she went out. But literally loved it. And just really made me feel how much I'm currently missing Becky Lynch from the main roster, actually.
I think with this being our third Rewind Rumble pod, you can see the theme of wrestling we enjoy, because this is probably the most Steve Austin-esque entrance to a Rumble that wasn't him. Yeah, like you just said, her trajectory at this time was just massive. From I think it started from that Survivor Series, taking that shot, that bloodied nose when SmackDown invaded Raw, and then just went from there. And like you said, just probably been the highest a woman wrestler has been in terms of popularity and everything. And it is quite a massive uprise, because when she was that sort of I can't really remember what her character was. It was quite forgettable what she was trying to be, and then the man come along and just suited her down to an absolute T.
What was she? The last kicker or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The Irish last kicker.
I think she's probably the most over person in the whole company, not just in the women's division. I have to say that she was the fan favourite, men and women. I think she was the hottest person in the company at this stage. Obviously, she had the match earlier in the night, the first match which against Asuka, which she lost. And so she wasn't even expected to be in the match. And then obviously she goes on to win. And then obviously sets up her WrestleMania main event.
I was just going to say, in this sort of era of wrestling, everyone sort of bangs on about the realism and sort of when feuds or groups disband and there's no reality to it. This just proved how popular she was, because people could have gone straight against she shouldn't have been in the Rumble, and everyone just threw that out the window and was just like, Becky Lynch is here. And sometimes it's good to have that still in wrestling, where you just forget about the rules and just enjoy the moment. And by God, everyone in Chicago did that night.
I think it was in New Orleans.
That was in Phoenix, Arizona.
We're both wrong.
Wow.
Yeah, no. What I was
Watch it.
what I was going to say, like you could just tell she was like you say, the most well over in the company, because you had the signs from the crowd, you had all the T-shirts, and literally like when it got to the last couple of entrances of the Rumble, you did hear murmurings of Becky, 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 like in the hope that she was going to come out, but not with real any expectation. And obviously the camera's on the ring when she is walking out to go up to Lana, obviously out with another injury she currently is. But yeah, it was just such a good pop when she come out, and yeah, it was great. She got into the ring and, like Jordan just said, confronted Nia. I think that was the first obstacle she had to face, and it was just like that real, like, you know, everyone likes the hero. So she confronted Nia, obviously took her out, and then she was against her biggest adversary and the person who always usually gets the better of her, Charlotte Flair, to win. So it just gave you that real good, you know, moment when she did win, and you're just like, now she's going to Mania, and obviously we have her triumphs on the way there, and it's just, yeah, such a good little run that she was on.
Yeah, I think the crowd love it as well, because I think everyone just thought Charlotte Flair was 100% going to win as well. She was like the red hot favourite, and then obviously because Becky Lynch wasn't supposed to be in the match, then when she comes down, you just think, this could go either way now. So I thought it was really well done.
Just touching on the crowd, the reason I thought it was in Chicago was because of how like loud they were throughout. And normally, you know, WWE has certain areas where the crowd is, you know, louder than usual. I think it's a great testament to this Rumble. We spoke about in the 2001 one, talking about bell to bell, one of the best. And I think this is well up there. And they just hit. It was strange watching it back because it felt like WWE and the fans were so in tune with each other. They just loved everything. Like WWE couldn't put a foot wrong that night, and yeah, it was just so enjoyable.
Yeah, so we said like kind of on the last pod about sort of standout performances. Just looking back on this women's one, just going to throw a few of my personal standouts. I'd say you probably got to say Natalya. She lasted 56 minutes, which is incredible. She didn't really do too much. I think she only got two eliminations, but to last that long, fair play to her. Also, Ember Moon lasted 52 minutes, 23 seconds, eliminated nobody.
What a stat, Wilbs.
Yeah, but yeah, them two just seemed to be in it for such a long time, and I was just intrigued to see how long they lasted, really. And I guess even though Ember didn't eliminate anybody, still to go 52 minutes is very impressive.
Was this like her first call up on the main roster as well?
Yeah, I don't think she's been in there too long.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I thought Lacey Evans had a good showing as well. I think there was a point where WWE were quite high on her. You know, we're touching with other wrestlers as well. It was sort of like when you look back, you think, God, she hasn't been a champion yet, and it's sort of a bit bewildering how sort of high they had her at that point. Like she's squaring up to Charlotte quite a lot, and yeah.
I thought Rhea Ripley as well looked good. She wasn't in there that long, but she got a few eliminations under her belt, and she was just the NXT UK champion at the time. And then if you fast forward to 2 years, she might have been going to the new Rumble as one of the favourites. She's achieved a lot in 2 years.
Yeah, definitely, and she still managed to maintain that same entrance music with the same song. And every time she comes out, I still get that buzz that Rhea Ripley's coming out. It's like she's definitely one of the biggest stars for me in WWE at the moment. And if there was anyone who I want to win the one coming up, she's definitely one of the favourites for me. Yeah,
but looking back at this Rumble as well, obviously it seems even sort of now that the main like Raw and SmackDown, they don't have enough women to really sort of fill a 30-woman battle royal. So you had 7 people from NXT, and they had 2 sort of free agents, which was Lacey Evans and Cross. But yeah, I think compared to the year before, they literally filled it out with all sort of old, sort of returning sort of legends. So it was good to see that this one was full of pretty, like, all active wrestlers, regardless of the fact they come from NXT and sort of unattached.
Yeah, like the year before you had Trish Stratus and Tori Wilson and God knows who else. Someone who it was just interesting to see now was someone like Candice LeRae, just without the completely dyed hair, just, you know, looking like the girl next door almost. And just, you know, you can see she's lost quite a lot of weight actually. I was just, really like thrown back by her, and even my missus was like, Jesus, is that the one that's with Johnny Gargano now, like in the way? And I'm like, yeah, and she's like, I just didn't really recognise her at all, but yeah, it just shows how far some of these women have come, like you just said with Rhea Ripley.
Yeah, we had also had the men's Royal Rumble as well. That was won by Seth Rollins. He came in at number 10 and last eliminated Braun Strowman. Did you enjoy this match, the men's Royal Rumble match?
I thought it was great. I liked all of it. I thought they got like the jokey spots really well. For me as well, just when you look back, this sort of Rumble felt like almost like a passing of a torch on the men's side. Like when you look at where they are now, it's a bit of a shame because they had you were getting pops for like Black, Almas. You had Drew there. You had Samoa Joe in. I can't believe he still hasn't been a world champion. And then you had sort of like Bryan, AJ, Brock, Finn, and it just felt like all these guys were like for the next we should be now here talking about all these guys as like the main eventers, and it was quite sad looking back and thinking half of them were either not on it. Finn's back in NXT, Joe's on the commentary table, and it felt like there could have been a lot more done with them.
Yeah, one thing that surprised me was when obviously R-Truth was built as being number 30 the whole time, and then Nia Jax comes out, attacks him in the way that sort of Becky Lynch entered the women's one, although she didn't attack Lana. R-Truth gets sacked off, and then Nia Jax comes in, and still to this day, one of the best spots, the RKO, man, just gets me every time when you see that. It's just, I mean, you still can't believe it happened, really, but it's just, an amazing spot in a Royal Rumble match.
Yeah, I'm not biggest fan of Nia Jax, but fair play to her. She took a super kick, 619, and then an RKO. But she also got an elimination in. She eliminated Mustafa Ali. She was probably shone in this Rumble, to be fair to her.
I think prior to the RKO as well, I love the bit where she sort of shoulder tackled Randy into the ropes and sort of like egging on Ray to do the 619, got all the crowd up. He set up for her and she just picked him up and slammed him, and then it led on to the RKO. And I thought all the like little spots they did in this match were great for the Rumble.
Yeah, so Nia Jax, she was the fourth woman to enter the men's Royal Rumble. Do you know who the other three were?
Well, I'll say China straight away.
Beth Phoenix.
Yeah, one other.
Tamina?
No, I don't remember her. Karma.
Karma, yeah.
Yeah, she was the other one. But I'm not sure how many, if they all got eliminations.
No,
I can't. I'm trying to think back to the 99 one. China must have got one, yeah.
Yeah, China was in a couple as well, wasn't she?
Beth, I saw it actually on WWE socials. Beth Phoenix eliminated the Great Khali. She was on the outside of the rope. And then, she kissed him over.
I'm going to have to go back and watch that one now.
Yeah.
Start the men's Rumble, number one entrance. How popular was Elias back then?
Yeah, he was super over.
He had about a 10-minute segment and he just had everyone out the palm of his hand. I remember when we went to that live event and he was singing, I think, Wonderwall. Just had everyone eating out the palm of his hand. Yeah,
I remember being a big Elias fan back then. It's a shame he's sort of not really kicked on. And I suppose it's hard to keep doing that same gimmick of singing in each town because you'd imagine the same sort of fans go there every year, so he's got to keep his content, fresh and original. But
he's probably massively hampered by the pandemic as well. He's someone who sort of needs the crowd there. But he's great on the mic, so I still think there's a run for him later in his career. But I loved how over he was, and then Jarrett coming out was just the whole men's Rumble just worked so well for me. I just thought it was all excellent.
Yeah, looking at standouts again from this match, obviously I would say for myself, I'd say Braun Strowman. He got 6 eliminations, which was the most. He looked like a monster. He always seems to in these sort of matches. And Drew McIntyre as well. I think this Royal Rumble sets him up for the following year's Rumble where he goes on to win it.
Yeah, I was literally just going to say that. You could see from this that there were signs that they were starting to trust in him, giving him a few eliminations, and you could see that they were building him up. Obviously, he was more of a heel character back then, but he was really good. And Strowman obviously had just come off winning the greatest Royal Rumble in Saudi. So he was obviously one of the big favourites, and obviously since then has gone on to be WWE champion and stuff. So just going back, it's funny how much changes and sort of doesn't change in 2 years, really. Because obviously they're still at the top of the card and fighting for the titles. And if them two are in the Royal Rumble again this time, you'd imagine that they'd be favourites again.
There was, when Lashley come out as well, there was something Michael Cole said that could ring true this up-and-coming Rumble. Lashley, when he came out, was the current Intercontinental Champion, and he said no Intercontinental Champion has ever won the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
And Big E is entering this Royal Rumble as the Intercontinental Champion. And we know WWE are quite high on him, and it would be a first. And is this, potentially an accolade they're going to throw Big E's way?
Yeah, maybe. Be good to find out.
You have to, if you want to make him a star, do you have to top what Kofi did? And do you make him a double champ just briefly, or, When he said it, as soon as he said it, I was like, they're going to make Big E win, and they'll bring that back up.
So the winner of the match was Seth Rollins. I mean, we haven't really spoke too much about him, about the match yet.
Yeah.
A deserved winner. He come in at number 10.
Yeah,
He was hot back then as well. When that Burn It Down hit, just the crowd went up. And then, he was such a good heel. And then he turned into this face and he was just as good. He's just an incredible wrestler. And we've talked about it before in previous pods. This is the sort of Seth Rollins we want back. This one from 2019, bringing back.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I think when I watched it in one sitting. So when you're watching it for 5 odd hours or whatever it was, by the end of it, you're a little bit like, oh, come on. And then obviously Seth was, I think remembering back to it, he was one of the favourites, and I was a little bit surprised he come out so early again. But it was, for me, it was a little bit predictable that he did win. And after he'd watched, like I say, for 4.5, 5 hours worth of content, you're a little bit like, come on, let's get this over with now. I've got other stuff to do. But definitely a deserving winner, 100%. And obviously him and Becky went on to win, so it was a great time for them.
Yeah, speaking of the length of the pay-per-view, and then also maybe the crowd, which Jordan mentioned a bit earlier about being hot, I'd have to disagree with that, because there was a match in the middle of the card, which was Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles for the WWE Championship, and it just seemed like that sort of match was just in the middle of a 4.5 hour card. I think the fans were just sort of, don't know, it was on after the Women's Rumble match, and I think that was just sort of badly placed on the pay-per-view, and especially when it's 5 hours long. I feel this match was probably sort of a victim of the length of the pay-per-view.
I think they'll probably just get your drinks in, get your toilet breaks in before the next Rumble starts, because that's what you're there for, is the 2 Rumbles, and it's sort of that match in the middle sort of falls victim to the rest of the card.
It's a bit of a shame though as well, because obviously we've spoken on the pods recently about how good AJ Styles is and how good Daniel Bryan is. You get them both in the ring at the same time, and it is a little bit flat because you've just had that massive high of Becky, and I think that if they were to look back on this Rumble, they should have had the Women's Royal Rumble as the main event for me personally, and then end it with Becky. But talking about Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles, I'm just thinking back to Daniel Bryan and how much I hated this character. Oh, when it was like coming out with the the Eco belt and whatever else, I was just like, please don't ever bring him back like this again, because it was just painful. And obviously it was the first time that we saw Eric Rowan appear, who was then going to obviously side himself with Daniel Bryan. It was just a little bit out of nowhere, like in the middle of the match he just comes down, you're like, what the hell is he doing? And then obviously he comes in and he costs AJ the match, which I didn't really like, to be honest. And obviously that storyline quickly went away, really.
I was just going to say I didn't actually mind the heel Daniel Bryan. I like the heel Daniel Bryan. I just didn't really. I probably was not amazed by the match though. No.
The other main title match on the men's side was Brock Lesnar defeating Finn Balor for the Universal Championship. I thought this was actually a pretty good match. It was a pretty quick one, but I thought it came across quite well.
It was that time period when Brock would fight all those sort of like smaller guys, and the match would always look amazing. I think he did it with Ricochet, Finn, Bryan. And yeah, it just sort of made me sad that Finn is on NXT instead of fighting for world heavyweight titles on either Raw or SmackDown. It'd be quite nice to see him back up, actually, and just give him one more crack at it.
Yeah, like we say, obviously he is now in NXT and he's the champ and he's doing amazing down there. But you're watching it and you're just like, Lesnar's winning this. Even though it was, he did put in a good account of himself, and I liked the beginning when they're doing the tail of the tape and it had like Universal Championship run one day against like Lesnar's 200 and whatever days it was. It was an okay match. Like I said, it just felt like such a long pay-per-view that I was just wanting the Rumble to then come on. So I'm glad that it wasn't such a long match. And just obviously Lesnar winning with a Kimura lock. Just a dominant display.
We also had Ronda Rousey defeating Sasha Banks in probably Ronda Rousey's best match in WWE.
Yeah,
definitely.
I'll definitely look back on this and think that it was definitely one of her best matches. But I think it was one of her best matches because she's in there with probably the best female outside of Becky Lynch at the time, just for in-ring ability. Sasha Banks is just such a star, and it's just so good, obviously, now that she's the current champion. But looking back, this really, propelled Ronda Rousey into looking like an absolute beast as well. It was just such a good physical encounter. And then obviously at the end we got the 4 Horsewoman sign from Sasha, and you're thinking that it could develop onto something else, which sort of never really materialised because she sort of left the company soon after. But yeah, great match. Again, it wasn't actually too long. I was looking and I think it was about 13 or 14 minutes. It wasn't a very long match, but it was just perfectly timed, well executed, and I love that match.
Yeah, I think Rousey had good matches with all the horsewomen, especially the Charlotte match was at TLC was completely different to what we expected. But this match just, incredible. Just really works on their in-ring craft for it, and I like how they're both going for their submissions and sort of the respect at the end before the 4 was held up. One of the better matches. I think probably the best match outside of the Rumbles.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. The only other match we haven't spoke about is the tag team match, which saw Miz and Shane McMahon win the tag titles against the Bar. I guess now we spoke on a previous pod, 2001, how good the tag teams were, and now you're putting the Miz and Shane McMahon together to become tag team champions.
I think all you need to talk about with this match is the amazing shooting star that Shane hits at the end. Oh my god, what a move! Literally, like, just watching it back, I just couldn't believe it. How well he hit it, how high he went. For someone who's not a full-time wrestler throughout the whole career, Shane McMahon is money, and every time he's in the ring, he just brings excitement. He brings unpredictability, and he sort of like made me forget everything else that happened in the match, but that move. And I think as a wrestling fan, that's what you want to see: them big, high hits and whatever. And it was just, it was completely amazing, and I'll just always remember it for that shooting star press.
When he was on top of the rope and he started doing his prayer, I was like, why are you praying? You jump off this rope all the time. And then he just flew. I must have completely forgot about it. I love the Cesaro swing. When he tries to go coast to coast, he catches him and he goes on forever.
Yeah.
He goes on for absolute ever. And like the crowd start like cheering because he's like so dizzy.
21, 22.
Yeah. But I completely lost context of that feud, and by the end of it, it was just really weird how Miz's dad was just holding up a belt with both of them.
And the wrong way round at the start. The Miz had to turn it round for him, and looking after his dad. But like I said, you just can't get enough of that shooting star. One of the best shooting stars I think I've ever seen. And
also the Bar. What a great tag team they were. They had some great feuds and then they got split up. And it looks like Sheamus, he's on to bigger things at the moment than Cesaro is. But just a great tag team for that time they were. And another thing we probably didn't see, I was just going to say, just on the back of talking about the Bar,
One thing we probably didn't see unless you watched the pre-show, which I didn't, but you had who was it? Nakamura and Rusev competing on the pre-show, and the previous year Nakamura's the Royal Rumble winner. It sort of shows you the ups and downs that wrestlers can have, and obviously now looking forward to this year's Rumble, it looks like Nakamura might be one of the main stars again moving forward. So it just shows you that you can't take for granted your position at the top for 1 second, because if you do, you're going to get left behind, and you sort of have to reinvent yourself a little bit again. So yeah, it was just sort of weird to, like, when they dropped in the highlights of the match, like later in the card, you're just like, Nakamura on the pre-show, like he won it last year.
He was in the actual Royal Rumble match as well, wasn't he? But he was in early and eliminated early as well.
He got eliminated. I can't remember who it was by. It was someone quite surprising though, wasn't it? It wasn't. I can't remember who it was.
Might have been someone from NXT, you know?
Yeah.
Was it Gargano?
I think it was. Yeah. Was it Gargano? I'm pretty sure.
Then just for British bias side, I love the pop Pete Dunne got, because he was, I think, NXT UK champion then as well, like similar to Rhea, and he come up with a massive pop as well. Do love Pete Dunne.
He was eliminated by Mustafa Ali.
Mustafa Ali. Yeah. Good knowledge, Wills.
So looking back on it, was only 2 years ago, but it was good. It was good to watch it back. I mean, because it's 4 hours 40 minutes long, it's not one I'm going to keep going back to watch, because obviously it's just so long. But enjoyable pay-per-view overall.
Yeah, like I say, I watched it in one hit, so by the end of it I was just hoping it was going to finish, but what do we get 4 hours 40 minutes of our lives these days just sitting about? It just doesn't happen. So watching it in two parts would have definitely been better, I think. I'm
trying to think who the quick elimination was in this one.
No way, Jose.
No way. Yeah, God, what an awful call-up he was. Because what was funny about that was he came in with the conga, got eliminated and just went off dancing with the conga.
Yeah.
I mean, if you needed to sum up his WWE career in one shot, that was it.
Yeah. Awful.
It's just that, I'll just say his music was the best thing about him.
Yeah.
Like when we went to Vegas, we went to see an ice hockey match, and they obviously have these little like breaks in between. They played that one, and the crowd was pumping, wasn't it?
Yeah, I remember that.
Another thumbs up pay-per-view. Another thumbs up Royal Rumble. When it did the job, Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins going on to the two main matches on the following WrestleMania.
Yeah.
But that is it for this episode. Thank you very much for listening. We are at the Pinfall Pod. That's all we've got time for. Time to ring the bell.